uh, featured guest is a good friend of the MCMA, and her joining us couldn't be timed any better with all the transitions that are happening professionally in the career
weekly,
space.
at least for the time being, opportunity just to connect, have a community, share some.
Oh, you're hearing the backfill because I just turned my Facebook sound down. Sorry if you caught both of those and the reverb on that. But again, I'm Todd Von Dijk from the MCMA. Happy to have you here today on today's Fireside Chat about managing your career. We have a good friend of the MCMA's, Mary Quinlan. If you've been to any of the last two MCMA days, you know that she's had one of the most popular panels, gets the follow-up questions. She also teaches at a university up in her neck of the woods and has a consulting firm that if you don't know about, you need to know about, because it's one of those ones you want in your Rolodex for the day before you need it, not the day you need it. Just Mary, so thrilled to have you here. We're using the same format, friends. If you have a question or whatnot, you can drop it in the Facebook chat panel and we will go from there. And I'll try to bring the questions in and we'll kind of go from there. And also, just so that we say it up front, we are recording this, and the beauty of it is we will make sure that it gets out through the next MCMA newsletter. We'll post it to the site and generally try to make sure that you have a chance to hear all of Mary's good thoughts. Mary, I've rambled for too long, but it's fun to share your story a little bit.
Are you in sales?
No, I'm just in talking on online camcorders, webcams these days. It certainly feels for me.
Hi, everybody. Greeting from the Jersey Shore. I want you to know I'm in full head to toe business attire because it helps me with my game face. But I did have to wait a few minutes to log on because I have 3 adult children living here, my daughter and her husband and my son. And my husband, who in the midst of all this is trying, I want my privacy here, and he's trying to record because he's an actor. He's trying to do audio. So this is the new normal. This is the new work from home, and we're all going to get through it. And we all meet for dinner and love each other, and it all works out. So thank you for having me. I want you to know, for those of you who don't know my background, I was in the magazine publishing industry almost my entire career up until 3 years ago. I was in the sales and marketing side of business and did online, and we sold, integrated platforms that included online and social, et cetera, et cetera. And I worked very, very closely my entire life with our consumer marketing, AKA circulation, AKA magazine content, marketing associates. And would have had nothing to sell without you. So thank you for all that. What I was asked to speak about today, instead of just safeguarding your career, but if you want to safeguard, some of these tips will help you, but more specifically is how to find a job during COVID-19 and after, because these are interesting and challenging times, but there's plenty you can do. Please do not think, I tell people the world has paused, but don't you pause. And really, as you all know, business hasn't stopped just because the streets are quiet. And the schools the students are working from home. Everybody's working like crazy all the time, as you know. So, so here's what I'd like to talk about. I want to start out with a broad view of goal setting, and then talk about some specific ways that I have gleaned in the past few weeks of listening to webinars with CEOs, listening to different things about where companies are headed. I've gotten some surveys from people, trying to hear what they're looking for. And I think it bodes well. I could be wrong, but most of you that I have met at MCMA are not entry level. So that's my assumption here. And if you are entry level and you more junior and you want to have a separate conversation, fine. By the way, it's Mary Quinlan. It's Mary Donahue Quinlan. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, or it's Mary at careerprepconsultants.com. Mary at careerprepconsultants.com if you want to reach out to me for any of this information. Okay, so the first thing I would say is, depending on where you are in your career, if you're in the latter part of your career, maybe you're saying basta, that's Italian for enough. Do you want to stay in this career? Do you think that the magazine industry, or whatever industry you're in, printing, whatever, can handle, sustain your career goals? And if not, where can you pivot to? So the first thing is you just look at your skill set. I will tell you that at least the circulation people that I know, you are data storytellers. You are data maestros. So there's so much that can be done. Every company is looking for people that can analyze and interpret and make a plan from data. So there's plenty to do, including, I'm a big fan of people, I can be honest here because it's not HR. If you're over 50, not-for-profit is very welcoming and embracing for people with real world experience. And the money used to be terrible, and the money is not bad now at all. So I guess it depends. You need to just look at, before you can tell your story, you need to figure out what story you're going to tell it to and what you're looking for. So you need to figure out what industry. A good place to research industries and a good place to just subscribe to in general is vault.com, vault.com. Again, I can send you all this if you reach out to me. And they have great newsletters. They have great information. I'm a huge fan of them. They've really grown and blossomed. They've been around longer than you know, probably 20 years, maybe more. And they really cover the gamut well. You also want to research companies, which is easy to do in a lot of places. You can go to Yahoo Business, you can go to LinkedIn, you can go to lots of places, even Glassdoor, to figure out what a company's like, if you can narrow down the company. But I think you're better off the industry and then try and be flexible with what jobs come up. So then you need to figure out what job title or role approximately. What do they call someone who does fundraising at colleges and universities, or in a not-for-profit? They call it development, your head of development. So the easy place to look for that is Indeed.com. Now I want to be really clear about Indeed.com. It's a huge aggregator of job listings. So it's the big giant, it's bigger than Monster. So you can type in data analyst and come up with 1,800 positions in New York City area alone. Do that for your research. Look for keywords that people are looking for and roles you think you'd be interested in, so you can incorporate those in your profile and your experience. Data analyst, revenue generator, whatever, and then use those keywords. I would not suggest applying on Indeed. Indeed, and in fact, you can see it. Indeed tracks how many people have applied to a certain job. If 3,300 people have applied to that job, don't apply. It's over. The good news and bad news is, while we have more access through the internet, it has crippled getting interviews, which we're going to get to. And people from all over the world can apply. I recently did a job search for someone, which is not even my business, but she asked me to do it. And there was every country, especially third world country in the world, applied for this job. It's just crazy. Do not apply on Indeed. You can apply there, or you can just go directly to the company's website and apply there. That's what I would suggest. The other places to look for jobs, I cannot tell you how impressed, how comprehensive, and how go-to LinkedIn is right now. It has evolved. It should be your best friend. And we're going to talk more about that later, but please, you can sign up for their job board. You can look for jobs there. They will tell you how many have applied, and they have more recent ones. So you can see 18 have applied. Good, go for that one. You know, no one's going to read 3,300 resumes. So I want you to please look at LinkedIn. There's another place that's it's kind of a secret place that I'm going to share with you because these are tough times. It's called ExecThread. It's execthread.com. It's founded by a guy named Joe Meyer, who was somewhere in our business, I'm pretty sure. He was in business in New York City. And it's like a secret club. So if you hear that there's a position open at Meredith in executive ranks in another department, you then post it on there, and then people, qualified people, can apply. So it's not this everybody in the universe applying. Sidebar, when I did that job search for someone, it was for an architect, and the only real requirement, a couple years experience, but you must have that 5-year, an architecture degree is 5-year degree. The range of people who applied, including a high school baseball coach. Like, you just get so much stuff. So ExecThread, no, it's this secret society, and I'm not sure, you used to have to be referred by someone to get in. And if you want me to refer you, I'll do that because I'm a member. You need to be referred by a member. And there's no fees. It's just a great little secret club. And there are just checked today, and there's a lot of pretty cool jobs on there still. So don't think that the world has stopped looking. It's not. Another I'm a fan of, they don't have as many because it's such, well, there's an organization called BridgeSpan. Their website is bridgespan.org. And they are a not-for-profit consultancy, and they have a not-for-profit job board. So I'm a big fan of that. And I also heard one called idealist.com for not-for-profit, if you're interested in that. I'm not as familiar with it. Okay, so now you have to figure out where you're going so that you can create your story, and you have to get market ready. So that involves you telling the world what your story is, not just putting all your stuff there and let's have them say, oh, maybe they could do this, maybe they could do that. No, you're in charge of your search and who you are and what you want. So you're going to create an executive profile, and you're going to create a LinkedIn profile. We're going to talk about that in a second. But here's what I've seen based on research and involvement. And I was on such a cool call yesterday with such a high level person in the whole world. I mean, it was just a webinar. She and I didn't have a private call. The three things that I suggest your resume address that they may not have in the past. Well, I definitely haven't addressed all of them in the past. The first one is an ability to generate revenue or create new revenue streams. Now, that's not new for anybody. But even if your job is tangential to creating revenue streams, you're still a part of the process. Everyone's going to come out of, here's what's going on. While companies are trying to figure out how to deconstruct this collaborative environment they did where everybody sits 2 inches apart, and they're trying to figure out how to get other goods and services delivered, they're also, the smart people are saying, how are we going to come out of this bigger and stronger than our competition? How can we get the talent that will carry us through the next phase? They are being very forward thinking on how to come out of this bigger, better, stronger, not just survive it. That's where the real opportunities are coming in. So the first thing your resume has to address is an ability to create or generate revenue or create new revenue streams. If you're in circulation, you've done that your whole life, period. So that's easy. The second thing is, and I'm sure you can figure this out somewhere, is the ability to work remotely, because people don't know how long you're going to be home. It's also, people are finding out what a huge cost-cutting measure it is, especially if they're based in New York City. Like, are you kidding? We're paying $100,000 a month for office space, and we could save $1 million too by just having people work from home. That's a thought. I heard about a firm the other day. They told their staff they're not coming back. And you know the name of the company. It's in the TV world. So it's not a network, but the other thing is, as part of that remote, do you have the ability to hire and or train remote teams? Now, I know some of you have had teams or people that work remotely. You could have had someone, if you're in New York and you had someone in Chicago working for you. So you can just address that probably best in your cover letter, I would think, or maybe even put it as bullet points in your executive profile. And the third thing, and this is where creative, especially this is where senior people come in, seasoned executives. This is what we bring to the party. This is what a 30-year-old cannot bring, or maybe they can. I'm not slamming anybody, but it's the ability to succeed in uncertain and ambiguous times. Now, I have to tell you something. If most of you are involved with the magazine industry, I say we because I'm an alum. Can I be emeritus in a magazine since I did over 30 years? We have been figuring out how to dodge, how to handle curveballs, how to dodge problems, how to create and survive, and not just survive, thrive, despite the world shifting. We didn't see people shifting to online media consumption, but they're still consuming our content. We didn't see magazine, the paper issues, which was the, going down in circulation to the extent that they are, but we're getting people online and on Facebook and social media and being able to find revenue streams for those. If you have been in the magazine content marketing business, whichever end you are, whether you're a vendor to it, whether you're involved in it, you have been able to succeed in uncertain and ambiguous times, and you just need to communicate that. I know that about you, and you know that about you. If you have been at Google riding the crest for the past 10 waves, you haven't hit a curveball. But magazines, we're way ahead of the curve on curveballs. That doesn't make sense, but ahead of the curve on curveballs. So that needs to be communicated. Now let's talk about how you're going to do that. The first and most important thing is for you to spend time, and I mean excruciating time, to drill down. It's easy to talk. It's easy to talk for hours and hours about yourself, but it's hard to synthesize down to 3 sentences, 4 max, who you are, what you do, what you bring to the party. And you don't need to say what you're looking for, because that's going to be implicit. You're going to say, for example, I'm going to use myself, it's easiest. Senior level sales and marketing executive with proven track record in generating revenue across multimedia platforms. And team leader of productive sales teams and something else, a third one. Again, you're going to use your keywords, you're going to use your experience, you're going to try and address all this. It's not going to be easy. It might take you a month to nail this thing. Once you do, it's going to be your executive profile, no objectives, executive profile on top of your resume. And then it's going to be right in that picture where I see your picture on LinkedIn. You might want to update your picture. I updated mine exactly a year ago. And the one I had up was 16 years and 15 pounds ago. So if I walked into a room, you'd say, like, where's Mary? If you saw my picture. So this picture more reflects what I look like now. I had a friend take it. She's a photographer. You don't need to go to have it done professionally. If you have a millennial living with you, they can handle their camera better than anybody. So update your picture, and underneath it is going to be this profile that explicitly talks about who you are and what kind of an executive you are, and mostly what you bring to the party, because I want to know what you bring to the party. Then the rest of your LinkedIn profile is supposed to be just 1 or 2 bullets from each of your jobs, 3 if you've had one for a long time, because it's not supposed to be your whole resume. You want me to have a conversation with you. So back to your resume. You want to go through your entire resume and make sure everything is tweaked to resonate what you're looking for, why you'd be good for it, what the things you've accomplished, that you have a proven track record, and again, the whole ambiguity thing and uncertain times, that could be addressed in a cover letter. And that's where you're going to differentiate yourself. You must differentiate in a cover letter. The next thing you're going to do to prepare, this is a lot of homework. This is before you even get out into the market, is to get all your paperwork done, write a powerful, powerful cover letter that's short and concise. And please, I know it's crazy that I'm telling this, because I coach a lot of recent college grads, but right now, and this is such an interesting, before COVID, 50% of my clientele now are 50-somethings. And if you're 50-something, you know what a 50-something is, because they show 30-something that we loved. So 50-somethings still make typo mistakes. You need to proofread it 57 times and have somebody, if you're living with or a friend, you can email it to, proof it, because one typo, especially if you're senior, is so unacceptable. It means you're not paying attention, and that one little thing could knock you out of the box. I know that sounds crazy, but I've worked for plenty of people who feel that way, and I'm one of those people myself. Okay, so then the other thing I'd like you to do is prepare for video interviews. There's a 90% chance, since everyone's working from home, you're going to have video interviews. Some little important notes, your background. I'm looking at my kitchen, I'm sorry. And I just had 5 people make lunch because I said, you gotta be out of here by 1:15. And I'm looking at a very messy kitchen, being full disclosure here. But nobody knows that when I'm on my interview here. Just have a very nice background. It's my diner. Okay. The other thing is you're never supposed to look down. Mine is propped up on 3 books. It's better because it's better for eye contact and you just look more engaged if you could look at this. The other thing I'm sure you know is that you're really not supposed to look at, if you have pictures of people here, you're supposed to look at that little, wherever your camera is. On the Mac, it's right in the middle up there. And be careful about your lighting too. If you have a window behind you, it can make you look like in the darkness. So it's easy to just go to Zoom and just pretend you're signing up for a meeting and not, and you can see what your whole setup looks like. Or just do go to FaceTime if you have a Mac and you don't even have to make the call. You can see what your setup looks like. I'm a big believer in dressing for the interview because I dress full length, but at least from the neck up, that goes without saying. But for me, it puts my game face on and it makes me excited and in the game. Okay. Now, this is my famous line. Well, I think it's famous. The way you get a job, and I know if I'm talking to more senior people, which I'm sure I am, I know you know this, but I really have to say it 5 times. I'm going to say it twice. The way to get a job is by getting interviews, not by sending out resumes. The way to get a job is by getting interviews, not just by sending out resumes. Yes, you send out the resume, but then once you're in the queue for that great job or that even okay job, even if it's okay if you took a pay cut, it's late for that job because maybe, I was in a position at one point to take a little bit of pay cut. I didn't want to, but I wanted the job. I'd rather make something than nothing. My tuition was taken care of because we were good savers and mostly because my husband is cheap. And we downsized our house, so our mortgage was less, so we could afford to do that. So now you're going to get out there and you're going to start networking. Again, LinkedIn is your best friend. There's a box that you can check when you go to your profile. Are you searching for a job? And when you check that, that will let recruiters as well as employers know. Recruiters then will be calling you, and you know that sometimes they don't have your ideal job. They're not worried about a fit. They're worried about filling the position. So, if it's not a fit, just don't even waste your time having the interview. Recruiters feel that you should have a minimum of 500 connections. Here's why. If you have 500 connections, and if I have 50,000 connections, it still says 501 connections. It still says 500 plus connections. And they feel that every executive who's arrived should have that many. If for some reason you haven't paid attention over the years and you don't have that, go to your contacts. I'm sure you have 500 contacts over the years. Go and link in whoever, and then it'll serve up other people. Just yesterday, I got a person I never heard of, but he's connected with my cousin. He's in career coaching, and I looked at his stuff, and he seems kind of a cool guy and someone I'd like to connect with at some point, even on the phone. So yes, linked him in. It serves up other people. So get that set up and get your executive profile and then your profile underneath LinkedIn set up. Then you can use LinkedIn in the following ways. You can use to find someone, shoot, I don't have the contact for Jeff Hartford anymore, who I met at MCMA a couple of years ago, but I don't have his contact. I do have his contact, but you can look him up on LinkedIn and then link in with him. You can reach out to old bosses. You can see where they are now, where they've been. You can see what companies they're in. You can research the companies. And conversely, you can then, let's say you decide to apply to, I just saw that Chewy.com is hiring tons of people. LinkedIn has an article. I was going to bring it, but it's too much. I can send it, of companies that are hiring. Now, the first bunch you're not going to like at all. Of course, it's CVS, it's Kroger's, it's Amazon, it's anybody who has public contact and is whatever. But then there are a bunch of other companies, including IBM, who are hiring thousands of people for different jobs. So let's say you see a job at IBM you love, you apply, then you go to LinkedIn and search your LinkedIn people and say, who do I know? Do I know anyone that's worked at IBM or that has a contact at IBM? And it will show you, and you can connect with that person, ask them to help get your resume processed along the queue so you don't just sit there. Ask them for a 15-minute phone call to network with people. It's a good way to network. If you have a good college alumni association, I do, you can go to your college alums and just put in who is in data analytics in New York City. Boom, it shows their name, their photo, their year they graduated and their major, their title, their company. You can just call and say, hey, I don't know anything about your company. What would you mind giving me 15 minutes? I always say 15 minutes because who could say no to 15 minutes? If you just say, I want to have a meeting on the phone, it could take too much time, but 15 is 15. I also saw Salesforce is hiring, and they're very related to a lot of our business uses Salesforce, and I heard they're hiring 3,000 people. Again, I don't know for what jobs. So you're going to use LinkedIn as this unbelievable thing to link you in, to connect with people, to also get the word out there that you're looking. If you update your profile, it will say someone updated their profile. If you're linked in with them, when it says senior sales and marketing executive instead of Eastern sales manager director at Cosmopolitan, people know that you're in the marketplace when it's generic. So that way, the more you get your word out there, the more you get the word out there that you're looking. That's better too. And again, people are willing to help. Feel free to just reach out to them and say, do you have 15 minutes? And if they say, we have nothing at my company, but if you know anybody, could you let me know? Do you know anyone else I can call? You need to be creative about networking right now. It goes without saying, you need to plan a strategic search. How many people are you going to reach out to a day? How many hours a day are you going to look? What are going to be your key? See where you get the best results. Keep track of where you're getting results from. Again, I think LinkedIn is a great place, but also go to the people's. When you also look at LinkedIn, you'll see you'll see companies you've never heard of before, because everybody's business is somewhat insular. You know, all my liquor clients never left the liquor business. My magazine friends never left the magazine business. My newspaper friends never left the newspaper business. So you'll see companies you never heard of before. Shoot. And you're qualified for those jobs. So now you're going to go work for Oracle, maybe, because you seem perfectly qualified. Your skill set matches. So another creative way is to look at webinars and seminars. MCMA has been really terrific, serving up 1 or 2 a week. And depending on the format, you can network with people or get more information even from the instructors from there. The other thing I want to say is they wanted me to keep it to 30 minutes and I'm at 30. So I mentioned this before. Now it's changed names. If anyone ever met with me before, it used to be called lynda.com, Lynda. It's now called learning.linkedin.com. They have 15,000 courses that you can take. I went to look for how to do a Microsoft Word program because I'm sorry, I had an assistant my whole life. I'm sorry I did. So I never had to learn Word. And then I found myself in my own business and I did. So I looked online, courses were $800, $650, and said, oh my God. I found lynda.com, which is now learning.linkedin.com. They changed the name. They bought it and changed the name. And the first month is free. And you can take unlimited courses. So you can do Google Analytics. If you don't know it, you probably all do. You could do other data. You can get certifications and put that on your resume and your LinkedIn that you have certifications in these programs. The first month is free. And I think every month after that is about $30. So you just do it for 2 or 3 months. So I learned at Microsoft, they didn't have the first month free at the time. So for $30 instead of $800, I learned Microsoft Word. Pretty good deal, huh? For those of you who remember me, I said $30 is the cost of 2 Chardonnays in New York City. I'm at the Jersey Shore now. I'm happy to tell you that the bars down here are less expensive, but they're closed. Okay. Those are my key tips for today. I wish we had a Q&A. Maybe we do. Maybe we have some questions. But I want to tell you, this is not a time for despair. This is a time to be up and at 'em. This is a time to take charge of your life, that the strong will survive, and that there's this whole undercurrent that you're not in the meetings. If you heard what I heard yesterday, that people are looking to not just grow, but to come out stronger. And they're going to need senior executives. You can't do that with recent college grads. And we all know that.
True story. True story. Couple of questions, Mary. And some of them from the Facebook, some were just thoughts that have popped in my head, because certainly I get the fun of doing what Mary does down here at colleges and teach a little bit in the school. So this is a topic near and dear to me too. You know, even at the executive level, I think you were so on point in calling out the putting in time and all of that. If someone's really serious about the change or serious about looking or whatnot, how much time are they really looking at? What's that investment that you would hope to see from folks, just so they have a sense of you're putting a toe in, or you're really going for a run here?
No, come on. So here's what I'm a big believer in, and I have girlfriends, and we had a cocktail Zoom. And by the way, this is berry tea. This is not, I'm not hitting the wine at noon.
Oh, we were all hopeful for all
Yeah,
of our sakes.
it's hibiscus berry decaf tea. Yeah. So you have to get up and dress. And dress doesn't have to mean a dress and heels or a jacket and tie, but it means like jeans and a nice sweater and your game face and your hair combed, and forget sweatpants. Weight Watchers back in the day said you should never wear sweatpants because you'll feel like you can let yourself go. You can eat and you won't feel it. No sweatpants. You'll let yourself go. You'll stop wearing makeup. You'll stop combing your hair. You guys with the beards, fine. You will have COVID beards, but trim those damn beards. Come on for the interviews. Get up, get dressed, do your workout if you're gonna do that. Get dressed. We're doing yoga here every morning, which is hilarious. My husband's never done it before. It's really been fun. We're on day 40 and it's working out great. And you have to sit and book it. Book 8 to 12, 10 to 12:30, lunch, and 2 to 5. So what is that? That's 5 hours. I do 5 or 6 because there's not just, you can listen to webinars. You can go on, you could take master classes. You could go read everything in Ad Age. You can go read everything. There's so much to do that you should set a plan. What are you going to do today? Today I'm reading trade publications. Tomorrow I'm reading Yahoo and Business Insider. I mean, subscribe to these things, the Wall Street Journal. There's so much information you can get to get world perspective of how we're pivoting, and then you can adapt to it. Listen, you're senior people. This is not a vacation. If you want, I would say this. I used to do this when I was out of work. I gave myself Fridays off. I would check my emails, but I gave myself Fridays off. But if you do 6 hours a day during the week, you can give yourself Fridays off. That would be my advice. Sure. As your kick-ass coach.
And I think part of this is a little bit of a kick in the patoot, and part of it too is what you pointed out in that reminder that it's not all just applying, it's not all just reading ads, it's investing in yourself. And that pays dividends through the webinars, through Linda, and we've posted all the links. We've tried to keep up with you on links and added them to the feed on Facebook for folks.
Okay.
And we'll add it to the graphics when we do the package of this too.
I mean, you should be talking to at least 2 people a day. I don't care if they're college friends and they're in a different industry. They might have a sister-in-law who knows something about a job you might want. You should be, there's so much you can do. This is not a time to pause.
Why are you apologizing? I'm trying to, we like it when you get enthused and going. On the LinkedIn side, working with executive candidates and whatnot, I know you hit in the executive profile, so you've certainly called out some things. You hit the point on typos and whatnot, which certainly is something I think we both bash into our seniors and kids just graduating, so it ought to continue forever. But is there one other big thing that if you could wave a magic wand, you'd get execs to do with their LinkedIn profile that just drives you nuts, or you feel like the biggest mistake they make?
Oh, well, the biggest mistake, and that's an easy one, is there's the thing right under, and then it says about, and there's a box. And they use first person, which I hate because it's not business appropriate. But if you want to do that, go ahead. And it says, I've done this and I've done this, and I'm an exciting communicator, and I'm a hard worker, and I'm a team player. Says who? Those are all soft skills. Stop telling me what you've got and tell me what you're about and what you can bring or what you've accomplished. Don't just talk like a frat boy on his first date, banging your chest at me. I need help. If you can help me achieve my goal, you're in. Guess what my goal is? A quarterly number. Pretty much.
Brass tacks and to the point.
Yeah. And stop telling me how great you are. Show me what you've done, or tell me your experience, or tell me, weave your story to say, I am uniquely qualified because I not only have circulation, but before that I had sales, and before that I had healthcare. I don't know if you had an intricate career. What is unique about you? What is your strong point? Don't just bang your chest. This goes for men and women. I'm sorry to use the male reference.
It's all right. We've got broad shoulders. I think the thing that unique is such a big deal, you know, and from what I see, maybe you do too. So many times that unique is something that could be unique for me and the three people sitting in chairs next to me waiting for the interview. So you've really got to push yourself to find that unique and tell your own story, and make sure it doesn't sound too familiar to everybody else.
But yes, and then part two of that is you need to push yourself to get out in front of that person, because you're no longer sitting in chairs in a room, right?
Yeah.
Remember those days back in the day? I mean, when I graduated college 100 years ago, I would just walk into Gray Advertising and say, where's the HR department? And I'd go walk in there and hand them my resume. You can't even walk in a building. Well, you couldn't even walk in a building pre-COVID, much less now, you know. Sure. So you've got to work hard to find a connection.
Just wondered one other question, then we'll call it a day, and just be so grateful for your time with us, Mary. If it does get down to that career shift and you're thinking about moving out, is there any other words of wisdom or framing or things to think about? You know, you spend all your time, you've spent so much time building a career in X. How do you know when it's time to pull the plug and pivot?
Are you married?
With 3 kids. I teach kindergarten in the morning right now.
Oh yeah, no kidding. Sorry about that. So yeah. I remember my parents were divorced. I said to everybody I knew, how did you know this was the one? How did you know this was the one? I was so scared to get married. And they said, you just know. How do you know it's time? The people I work with in their 50s were let go because of budget cuts, and it's like reverse discrimination. Why'd they get cut? Not because they weren't good workers, because they're making more money than the 35-year-old. Why? Because they're bringing more to the party than the 35-year-old. But anyway, that's another story. You just know, if you say, you know what, I'm not going to put myself in a position to get let go again. I'm fried from this, or you're fried from this business, or you should still love working. It's 8 hours a day. I said to people, I spent more waking hours a day with my colleagues than I did with my husband. You should love it. So if you're a little fried, or you're saying, you know what, this is the second time I've been let go in 4 years, I'm not putting myself in that hot seat again. You go somewhere which is not for profit, which is academia. Although I will tell you, because, and Todd can jump in here, I'm an adjunct professor. You literally get paid per day enough to cover lunch and tolls. I mean,
yeah, I was about to say maybe parking too, but that's, you got to do that for the
only parking if you use
for the money. Teach for the love. You have to teach for the love.
You do that for love, and I do love it, and I love it.
Yep.
And that's a gift. So that's like service, but you'll every individual will know if it's time. You know, if sure. You just know if you're in the hot seat or you're fried. Those are really the 2 answers.
One last question that just came in, and it's a technical one, so I love getting down into the nuts and bolts a bit. For executives, and maybe just hit all different career stages, if you wouldn't mind, knowing that this will be, you know, we're going to distribute the tape and whatnot. Resume length, 1, 2, 4, 44 pages.
Oh,
you know,
that's a great question. If you are in the workforce 3 years or less, it's 1, unless there's an extraordinary reason. And pretty much, was in the workforce more than 30 years, and I I'm 2. Because that stuff at the end, no one cares where you were 30 years ago. No one cares where you were 20. It's the last 5 is all that matters, guys. So I put down media planner. You don't need to describe what a media planner did. No one cares.
Yeah.
You put Benton and Bowles, which doesn't exist anymore, media planner. You don't have to put all that description, and you do less and less the further away you get. You could just put titles, which, by the way, I forgot to mention. Don't forget to age-proof your resume. At least do these 2 things. Make sure on LinkedIn, and it's not easy to do, make sure that your college or year of graduation is not on there. It took me like 10 minutes to find out where it was. And you feel free to drop off those first few jobs. If it's your first 5 years out of school or 6 years out of school or 8, whatever, no one cares.
Perfect. Well, I think that hits all the questions, Mary, and it's so nice to zoom into the Jersey Shore. I wish I could be there myself.
Yeah.
Hope you're having a beautiful weather day, but we appreciate your time. This isn't your first dance with us, so I have no doubt we'll have you back if you'll have us. And always, you can reach Mary at Mary D. Quinlan at AOL, right?
Well, no, it's Mary at careerprepconsultants.com.
Ah, that one. Sorry, Mary at Career Prep Consultants. Thanks to all who are on the line.
Stay positive, everybody.
Amen. Amen. Stay positive.
You've weathered other storms. We've been through 9/11. We've been through 2008. We are used to this. Let's do this.
And if MCMA can help you in any way, it's help at the-mcma.org. We'll do anything we can, make introductions, point you towards Mary, whatever it is. We want you part of our community, continuing and thriving and helping you to figure out how to navigate all that's going on for now and beyond. Have a good day, everybody.
Thanks, Todd. Thanks, everybody. God
Bye.
bless.